I engage families because if you just look at the sheer math of it, 84% of their day, their year is spent outside of the classroom. And so when you look at just that number alone, that 84% of their time they're outside the classroom, you need to be supporting them in that time in their life. So you can't just stop your instruction at the door. It needs to go outside the door of your classroom. It needs to go into their life and with their family. And so I engage them because that's really where the bulk of their time is spent, is with their family. So their family should be partners in their education. I need to give them the tools and the vocabulary to be those partners.
I've been a teacher in DC public schools for 4 years now, and I have never met a parent that has not been invested and engaged with their students' learning. It's just untrue. All parents want their student to be successful just as much, if not more, than the teacher does. That's why they bring their child or send their child to school every day, so they want to be making sure that their student is successful. I think that sometimes parent engagement looks different, or oftentimes it does look different for every family, so it's important as the teacher to not make assumptions about what engagement should look like, but make sure that just like you differentiate for your students, you differentiate for your parents, so that you can engage all of them in a way that will make their student as successful as possible.
Spending time to make sure that parents are involved is absolutely necessary. You put in the hard work in the initial stage and you flow smoothly for the rest of the year. It makes sense to build trust and then you build relationship. So the first thing you tend to do with your parental involvement is build trust, build confidence. When parents see that you are genuinely interested in their child's learning, they see that you take what they are saying to you seriously, and you make a concerted effort to communicate with them regularly and effectively, smooth sailing throughout the year. They put in the effort for the first quarter, the first 3 months from September to December, very hard. And for the rest of the year, you have parents doing just about whatever you ask them to do, because they know that you are serious about what you want to accomplish and that you genuinely have their child's interest at heart.
Now, the way I look at it is if you spend a lot of time at the beginning of the year engaging families and helping them to support their children throughout the year, then you're really saving yourself time at the end of the year or at the end of advisories by not having to have those long and sometimes pretty stressful conversations with administration why students aren't doing better in your classes. So I personally look at it as a huge time saver.
One thing that you realize over the course of time is that while it seems daunting and overwhelming in the beginning, it is entirely going to pay off in the long run. Prior to the school year starting, I make an effort. Certainly you don't know until about 2 weeks in exactly who your students are going to be after the enrollment is finalized. But as many as I can before the school year even starts, I reach out to each parent through phone calls, through parent letters, and I try and contact each person before I've even met the student to introduce myself and talk to them, just relate to them that I'm excited to meet their student, because especially working with 9th graders, I'm excited to meet their student, and any kind of things that they particularly want me to know going into the year. It takes a little bit of time, but the parents already know me when we've entered the school year. There's saving me time in the long run of I am able to maximize the learning day beyond the parameters of our school class schedule. If I am able to communicate with parents about what materials the students are covering, things that they can be doing at home to support their learning, that learning is continued beyond the classroom. And I'm going to see more significant results if the student has more learning time. But it also saves me time in what I'm able to do in the classroom because they've been doing stuff at home.
Engaging my students' families has helped me to, one, become more accountable. I find that if I'm opening up my data tracker, the actual tracker that I use, and sharing that with parents, then it's my job and to keep that updated. And if it's not, then since I'm so transparent with it, then people will know. So if you open up to the parents, then you find yourself being held accountable by the parents. Also, for instance, when I learn about a student's life, I learn about what they love, their interests, I learn about what their parents hold near and dear to their heart, I'm able to engage the student more by providing instruction that is tailored to what they love and what they want to become, and also what the parents want to see. My students, my first year teaching, all grew almost 1.5 years, 1.45 years in reading, which was awesome. I was very proud of, especially as a first year teacher. And I owe a lot of that to the family engagement and really engaging the families to make sure that kids were reading at home and letting parents know what strategies to give their kids to become better readers. My students, my first year teaching, all grew almost 1.5 years, 1.45 years in reading, which was awesome. I was very proud of, especially as a first year teacher. And I owe a lot of that to the family engagement and really engaging the families to make sure that kids were reading at home and letting parents know what strategies to give their kids to become better readers.